So do you look at your situation and ask yourself, am I ever going to heal from this? Is this pain ever going to go away? Well, that's what we're going to hit in this video today. So one of the things I often talk about is how in the beginning stages of this, how I felt that I was never going to get my life back and start to heal from this. I thought that those emotions and feelings that I was dealing with were going to be stuck with me forever. To be perfectly honest, I was looking for ways just to kind of lessen that pain, make it dull it a little bit so that it would be bearable so that I could actually survive. But I never really thought, in the really bad part of this whole thing, that I was going to be able to heal from it completely and get to the point where I didn't always have those underlying stressful and painful feelings and memories. Now, when you're stuck in that mode, it is really hard to find any hope that things are going to get better. And it can be very demoralizing whenever you're waking up every day to the same pain. You're going to bed every night in the same pain. And you just feel like you're just basically going in circles. You're making no progress. You're not feeling any better. You're not, that hole in your heart isn't going away, and you don't feel like you're ever going to regain who you once were. Now, when you're in that mode, it's not a good place to be. And it makes things just really complicated. I spent a significant portion of that time sleeping. I would do what I needed to do to kind of make it through the day, fake it. And the days that I didn't have the kids and the days that I didn't have to do anything, I would just hide in my house, roll into bed, and try to sleep as much time away as I could, trying to get some rest and basically just trying to get an escape from those feelings. My problem back then is I wasn't able to find anybody that I felt that had gone through this and got to the other side. Sure, there were some channels back then. I mean, this was a few years ago, so there were not as many channels and information available as there is today. But most of those weren't talking about it in the context of what they were experiencing, to where I felt that they had gone through the same thing, experienced the same type of feeling, and that their story was a parallel to mine. Now, that's really important, because when you're looking at information, it doesn't resonate with you and you don't feel like that person's story parallels yours, it's really tough, because you can find yourself in this mode or in this thought process where you say, well, okay, they made it through it, but their story is not like mine, right? Back in the day, there weren't a lot of channels that talked about dealing with this in a divorce scenario with kids. So oftentimes I could rationalize in my mind and say, well, okay, they were able to heal because there weren't kids involved. They were able to heal because it was a shorter term relationship. It wasn't as long. You know, I could tear apart their story and insert that self-doubt into my own mind that are why their story wouldn't work for me. So that creates a weird balance for me on this channel, because I don't necessarily want to stay in the muck and really keep reliving the past trauma, but it's a balance, right? I want you guys to understand that most of your stories really do relate, that I can relate to it, and there's a lot of similarities, and it doesn't matter whether it's man or woman. Whenever you have a toxic narcissistic ex that's targeted you, it's the same thing. You know, granted, there are some scenarios where things are a little different. There are some scenarios where, you know, someone might be more overt, someone might be more covert, but at the end of the day, they really all generally follow the same playbook. So the point of this video is just to address that fact that when you're starting out with this, it can feel impossible to be able to get your life back. It may feel impossible to ever get to the point where this person doesn't have a significant negative impact on your life. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that's where I was. I didn't think that I was going to ever be able to get to a point that there wasn't this little, you know, burning in the back of my head as a result of all this. What I've noticed over time is that effect, or those feelings, the effect of the ex on my life and those feelings I have significantly reduced as time has gone on. Now, it was not an easy process. This isn't something that happened overnight. This isn't something that wasn't a big epiphany and quickly things got better. I mean, technically, in a lot of ways, and looking back, there were improvements that were happening, but I had to convince myself along the way that things were different, that I was different, that the way I was looking at things were different. So the thing to remember on this, especially if you're starting out and you're struggling with this, is it does take a significant amount of time for you to start healing. You do not expect that it's going to be super fast. And the reason I don't say that to discourage you. The reason I bring that up is because I want you to realize that more than likely you are on target for your healing, because it is a slow, methodical process that you have to go through. And there's going to be these ebb and flows where you'll have better days and then sometimes you'll have some backslides, and all of that is normal. And the reason it's really important to know that is because you can easily get yourself into a situation to where you believe that it isn't getting better. Or if you have had some better days and then you have a backslide, you can go down the thought process that your better day was fake, that it wasn't really true, that you're never going to escape this, and you always are going to be connected and living in this, nightmare type zone. The thing is these are very traumatic and stressful experiences. They break you down to your core. They shake your foundation and even your perspective on what's real. And as a result of that, it's going to take time to basically dig yourself out of that hole. And although that sucks and it's not a lot of fun, it's not something that you can't do. It does take a lot of work to get your life back. It does take a lot of work to heal through this and to change your perspective on things. A lot of it has to deal with letting go. A lot of it has to deal with accepting the situation you're in. I see a lot of comments from people where they'll talk about their situation, and I can see that they're just trapped with the way they expect things to be. At some point, you have to stop that thinking and just kind of pick your life up and start basically living again. And sometimes that means accepting the fact that you're not able to see your kids, or accept the fact that your ex has been able to turn your entire family against you, to accept the fact that maybe your kids have fallen under the trap of that parental alienation and they're not reaching out to you or wanting to have a relationship with you, primarily because they're trying to appease the other parent. And if they do acknowledge you in a positive way, they get punished for it. And it's just making your peace, which I get that this is really tough, but it's making your peace with that to where you can start to get your life back. So at the end of the day, it's just accepting the fact that this is going to be a journey. It is going to take some time to do it. It's okay. It's not great, because I can remember back at the time whenever people would say, oh, it takes you half the time of your relationship to get your life back. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be living like this for another 10 or 11 years. It didn't take that long for me. I'm only running up on the six and a half year mark, I think that, and things have gotten significantly better. And I know that had I approached it differently sooner, that I could have gotten to where I am now earlier, but I wasn't ready for it. I had to go through those different emotions and deal with those different pain points to get to the point that I could accept where I was, re-baseline my life, and start to basically live again and be able to find some joy and happiness in my own life. The interesting part is once I started doing that, everything started to get better. My attitude started to increase. My relationship with my kids started to get better. My just overall look in life started to get better as well. And it's kind of like it starts a feedback loop, right? I mean, it works both ways. You can get really negative and you can get really bitter and down and angry. And it's just like, it creates more. It's like you go down that thing and it just starts circling downhill. Whereas once you start changing your perspective and you start looking at things more positively, coming from more of a gratitude centered instead of what you've lost, it really changes your perspective on things, and that actually builds in the opposite direction. So instead of driving, like in the beginning, I was driving myself down and making things a lot worse. When I finally said, okay, I got to let go, I have to approach this differently, otherwise it's going to destroy me, slowly things started to get better. And hopefully you'll be able to experience that as well, or hopefully at least maybe you can look at my story and think, okay, so this guy's been able to go through very similar experiences that I've gone through, and now he's in a much better place. Not a lot's changed from what he's saying. Things are still pretty much the same. It's not like the ex was held accountable. It's not like something significant changed. It's not like there was a huge victory in court. There's a lot of negative things that have happened over the course of this period of time. But even with that, I've been able to find my path through this and find a way to minimize what the ex is doing, to undo a lot of the parental alienation, some of it that I felt I fed into as well, just from my own action, and get to a point that things are really going on a positive trajectory. A lot of that has to do with the way I've looked at things and made my peace with things. You know, I mean, for instance, I was very bitter about money before and how much I was paying and what I wasn't able to do with the kids and how much debt I've had to incur. And it used to make me very angry. When anything would happen where I would get really short on money, it would be like a flashpoint. It would be a trigger point where I would instantly go down that path of being incredibly angry and frustrated. Now, I'm still stressed money-wise, but it's not the same reaction. I don't sit there and get super angry about it anymore. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm on a path to try to recover from this, and that's what I'm focusing on. And I think the pivot for me is I started getting into the mode to where I actually felt like I had some hope for the future. And it took a long time to get to that point. So as I was saying, I hope that if you're looking at this whole story, this channel can help you feel like there is a possibility for a better future, that you don't have to have some huge victory to get, you know, to hold the other person accountable, to have them get their comeuppance, to have them have to deal with the trauma and chaos that they're creating, that even if things aren't going great, you can still get your life back. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this video up. If you feel like this can be helpful for you, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that you get all the notifications whenever I post a video, if YouTube actually will let you know. And I will chat with you on the next video. Take care.